It's Midday Live on TV3. We'll go to one of our headline story, and the Supreme Court has ruled by unanimous decision that the Electoral Commission cannot use the National Health Insurance identity cards in their upcoming voter registration. This means that the Electoral Commission would need to review the list National Health Insurance cards that could be used in registering qualified candidates eligible to vote. We've been joined by the Principal Public Relations Officer, Silviano, of the EC. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Yes, and what does this mean for the Electoral Commission?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. It's simple and straightforward. The Supreme Court has spoken, and therefore we're going to abide by the ruling, meaning the NHIs would not be used for the registration, for the limited registration of voters. It means that all other issues are going to be handled. In terms of identification, you have the passport, you have the driver's license, and so on and so forth. So we are abiding strictly by the ruling of the Supreme Court, and therefore would need all of you to propagate the news to to the electorate, specifically to our stakeholders.
All right. Clearly, this pushes back EC's plan. So, how, in terms of timeline, what's the plan like before you come back to do the registration using the standard ID? Thank you.
Very shortly, we would communicate with all our stakeholders, with the media. We would know the date. We would communicate with you, so we would know the new date that the Electoral Commission has set for the limited registration of voters.
All right. Can the EC tell us how much in terms of cost have you incurred by this?
Let's not talk about cost now.
All right.
The most important thing is that the Supreme Court has spoken. We are going to abide by the ruling. Therefore, we are re-strategizing to make sure that all our stakeholders get to know that we are no more using the NHIS cost.
Right.
I said at another interview, if you want to talk about costs, we can delve into it. But for now, remember that it's only a few days away from the. We were supposed to have ended. No, we were supposed to. Yes, we are not using the old date. It was supposed to have ended on the I think end of the 3rd, but today is
31st.
The 30th of July. So we have some time, and it's between last week and this week is a relatively shorter period. So I don't think that we have any problem regarding the time frame.
All right, thank you very much for joining us as the Principal Public Relations Officer of the Electoral Commission, Silviano, speaking to us. Now, the gentleman who took the case to court, Abu Ramadan, who is the PNC's National Youth Organizer, has joined us in the studio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How's the feeling like?
It was expected, because the case was a straightforward case, and I knew certainly the court would agree with us based on the arguments our lawyers put before the Supreme Court. So I'm genuinely excited because this is a victory for democracy. This is a victory for everybody, not just myself. So
what about the implications?
Clear implications. We are still not satisfied when looking at what we intend to achieve. We are looking at cleaning the voters register to give us a credible voters register moving on into 2016, to avert a possible tension or possible problem in 2016. And for that matter, we are not leaving it there. We're going to go a step further, and I'm confident that we will go back to court to conclude the process we've started.
Well, going back to court to conclude which process?
The process of cleaning the voters register.
Which other case are you thinking of taking to the court?
We are open to several cases, but most importantly, the ruling of the court, we're waiting to hear the reasons the court have given. They say on the 17th, we'll go back to the court and pick the reasons, go through the reasons. Then based on that, we'll be going back to court to ask the court to either expunge from the voters register the names of individuals who registered with the National Health Insurance in 2012, or the entire voters register must be cleaned by way of cancelling it for a new voters register to be made, so that we have a more credible voters register. Because as it stands now, I'm not a lawyer to speak, but clearly our voters register seems to be contaminated as it stands now, based on the ruling of the Supreme Court. So we're looking at other possible ways to go back to the Supreme Court to ask for further cleansing of the voters register.
All right. The Election Commission gives political parties, that's why you have IPAC, the opportunity to share your concerns. I mean, in fact, you agree on sometimes how you want proceedings done and whatnot. How much of it really do you think has affected the way we go about doing our elections?
It really has no bearing, if you ask me, because the Electoral Commission says IPAC is an advisory body, but it is not constitutional. It is not within the laws, and for that matter, the Electoral Commission decides whether to listen or not to listen. So we really don't have the authority to force Electoral Commission to undertake or take our decisions and implement them. So the IPAC really, yes.
In other words, if the Electoral Commission had listened, you wouldn't have gone to court.
Precisely, because we raised this thing at IPAC the last time we met. Afajan dismissed it and said there was nothing he could do about it. There was nothing the Electoral Commission could do about it. That's why we went to court. So until the Electoral Commission decides that it's going to listen to us and help us clean the register, I'm sure I will not be in court to ask the court to clean the register.
So I want to stay on cleaning the register. In terms of what people who have, forgive me, people who have died, who have lost their lives, people who use the NHIS card to vote, you talked about that. So in other words, we should use the NIA if you have it, the passport and whatnot. How about people who say, well, I mean, they don't have, apart from the NHIS card?
It's unfortunate. Was it Justice Enimi Yabua of our last sitting asked the Electoral Commission lawyer, who was making the argument that, listen, if you take out this part of the law, you disenfranchise a lot of people, because that's a standard form of identification everybody seems to have.
Well,
the judge asked a simple question. In 2008, the health insurance was not part of the law. How many people were disenfranchised? Did it affect the elections? So whether it is there or not, the same CI-72 creates a room for you to have two people, validly registered people, to identify you by way of filling a form and witnessing that you are truly a Ghanaian, you are truly qualified, you are 18 years and above, and for that matter, you can register. That you can use that form of identification to put people on the voters register. So it doesn't affect anybody. I'm not sure who disenfranchise anybody, but by striking out this law.
All right, you're going back on the 17th?
Yeah, we're going back on the 17th to pick up the ruling, the full ruling, the reasons given by the court. Then after reading it, I'm sure before October, when the judges come back, if the need be, we'll go back to. What's
the pressing issue that you want, apart from the voters register, because that has been sorted out, that you cannot vote without the NHIS card? What's the next step?
What really
in terms of, to cleaning our electoral system?
If you had gone through the writ we filed in court, you realize that we said, as part of it, we asked the court to expunge from the voters register names of persons who had registered using the health insurance card. And the court said, listen, by the rules of court, you can't expunge somebody's name, or you can't pass judgment on somebody without giving the person a hearing. And for that matter, in the spirit of fairness, you must give the person. So if you have 1 million people, the court must give them a hearing. And for that matter, we are looking at possible means. So long as the court says it's illegal, then by virtue of their names being there, they are illegal names in the register. So what other avenue can we use in taking their names out?
Because imagine having all that many people. That would drag till 2018.
So the possibility of we having a new register, taking out the old register, by virtue of those who have died and their families can't go to the polling station to report that my family member has died, and their names will still be in the register, by virtue of taking so let's have a new register.
All right. Okay.
And save ourselves all that trouble.
All right. Thank you very much. Abu Ramadan is the PNC National Youth Organizer there, and you heard Sylvia Ano as well. The EC will be coming back, and we will use a standard identification card that's recognized as your passport, driver's license, and of course, if you have your old voters registration card, perhaps you can actually use it.
The old voters before the 2012.
Yes, before the 2020, not 2008, not 2008. Yes. So thank you very much for coming to our studio.